Hello ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Screezilla here and I hope you're all well, and welcome back to another video of Scree shitting on Naval. Yes, it's become a regular feature to everybody and, you know, it's a common thing. And look, I don't do this because I hate Naval. I don't do this because I dislike Naval. I want Naval to work, and this is a big thing I try and get people to understand. Well, I'm actually really advocating this quite early on in the video, because at the end of the day, I want Naval to actually be a thing that works for us. I want Naval to be enjoyable, and I want Naval to actually be something that brings people into the game. Now, just notice here, just a slight issue on the teams. We're just going to look quickly at the makeup of the teams right now. We have Cruiser. 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 Patrol boat. Frigate. Cruiser. Cruiser. The enemy team have Cruiser, 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 Patrol Boat, Dreadnought, Cruiser, Patrol Boat, Patrol Boat. Now, you may be thinking, why am I going on about that? What am I talking about? Well, the enemy team has a Dreadnought on their team, and we don't. Balance. Now, naval vessels need to be balanced. It's kind of an important thing, because otherwise the naval ships go topsy-turvy, and then all of a sudden the ship goes underwater, and you get an issue like on the Mary Rose, where it goes out of port and then turns on its back and then sinks, and then everybody goes, well, that was stupid. This is what we've got happening in War Thunder Naval at the moment. It is a complete lack of balance, and just a completely terrible, 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 terrible game. Now, as I said, low tier, when you first start playing, when you got yourself a couple of reserve destroyers or something like that, destroyers that take a couple of rounds to grind out everything, kind of fun. This is my fourth match in the Admiral Hipper. You'll see later on why this is so bad. My fourth match in the Admiral Hipper, you will notice I don't have parts yet. I don't even have parts, so I can't repair my ship. At least I can stop it from sinking, so there is some buoyancy to this boat. But if my turrets get damaged, I am screwed. You start to see the problem right here, because when you unlock that new cruiser, it takes a while to actually unlock things like parts and FPE. And I know I go on like a broken record sometimes, but when you don't have parts and SPE in a capital ship, it's kind of problematic. Let's look at real life examples here. So the US Navy were very good at damage control. They were very good at putting fires out on their aircraft carriers. They were very good at repairing them and getting back to base. The Japanese were not so good at this. They weren't so quick with their fire control systems, and this was problematic for the Japanese Navy, because their cruisers, their aircraft carriers tended to catch on fire and then sink. Now, there was a bit of overwhelming firepower from the US Naval Air Force, of course, but when you don't have fire control systems, as in fire control when you're on fire, not fire control as in using fire control to actually distance, you've got problems. Now, right here, we've got a battleship appearing, and it is the Imperiality of Mariar, the ship that Napalm Rat napalm letter, sorry, basically said is the ship to have, which I imagine is going to be the one we see most of in games. Somebody will have just golden eagled their way there, or they're a content producer and they've got it as a trial option where they have everything unlocked. Now, if you've actually ground out the Dreadnought, then you won't have parts and FPE in it, and that's going to be problematic for you because, again, you're going to lose secondaries, you're going to lose main guns and things like that. But end of the day, you're probably going to survive a long time because you're a Dreadnought and you have a ridiculous amount of crew. When you're in a cruiser, you don't have that. You still have a lot of crew in a cruiser, especially a heavy cruiser like the Admiral Hipper, for instance. You have an awful lot of crew, but until you've aced the ship, you don't actually have full crew numbers. So you only have like about 80% or 70% crew. Now, I should have really gone left at this island, because where I am right now is not in a very good position. I've got some good shots on a light cruiser, and I'm able to punish him a little bit. I'm sending some torpedoes just in random directions, just in case I catch anybody out. Just as a, you know, it really can help you out, just random torpedo spread into a spawn, because you usually get a kill that way, because again, Gaijin, it just works. So we're focusing on that light cruiser, but there is that Dreadnought, and that Dreadnought is going to start firing on us. Now, the problems come when we get hit on our guns, because when we get hit on our guns don't work anymore. When our guns don't work anymore, there's not much we can do as a ship, other than, you know, vaguely sail around and hope that we can possibly get some torpedoes into the enemy. Now again, I'm focusing on a Brooklyn right there, because I don't have any AP rounds, I've just got HE rounds, sorry, which, you know, going to be okay against a light cruiser. I'm actually going to be able to do some damage. The Tone has just been walloped by the Imperiata Maria. Tone is probably not going to last too long. Now we're still firing on those light cruisers, trying our best to do damage. And as you can see, naval damage is a lot of just chipping away at the enemy, especially when you don't have, you know, proper rounds. You can hear shells coming in at us, and those are fairly heavy shells as well, so I imagine that's actually from the Russians' 305mm guns, I think it is, or bloody heavy guns anyway. And he appears to be firing armour-piercing shots as well, from my vague observations, which means he's ground out most of his ship via golden eagles, I would say, or he's just been farming cruisers. Actually, it might be HE, but this guy will be having a lovely time in the game. He'll be able to make lots of RP and have a brilliant time just eating us cruisers, because we can't effectively do anything unless we get torpedo hits on him. And even with torpedo hits on a Dreadnought class battleship, now this is a first generation / early generation Dreadnought, it doesn't really do much, which it should, because Dreadnoughts were particularly bad at taking torpedoes. They had a big problem with sinking because they didn't really have huge torpedo bulges. They had fairly decent armour, but torpedo protection wasn't their main thing. It was more, you know, protection from big guns. We've just lost the whole front end of our ship, as we've been hit by a Dreadnought. As you can see, we get our torpedoes out. We've also lost part of our rear guns as well. Now, we're trying our best to actually shoot at things, but we can't because buoyancy issues have become a thing now. Our secondary guns are aimlessly shooting at said Dreadnought because, well, they can't pen it. All they can do is slightly annoy it. If we look at the ship, it's really got no damage to it. So, we've now died. yay. That was a fun battle. That was a good 10 minutes of battle there. We managed to get 2 assists. That was good. So I decide to take out my graph. Yes, I'm taking out an HE-177 with 3 fritz-x's on board. Now, we've lost this battle. Already I know we've lost this battle because our tickets are too low. Also, we don't have a dreadnought on our team. And that's making our game very hard because we can't do anything to said dreadnought. Said dreadnought has wiped out most of our ships. Our only option is to kill the dreadnought. Now, dreadnought is over there. I need to climb because there are lots of enemy ships. The game starts you at a paltry 5,000 feet in a heavy bomber, which is basically going to get you shot up by any ship in the general vicinity, because their AA coverage is ridiculous. Heck, I imagine even at 20,000 feet you'd get torn up by the group of ships down there with relative ease. So we're going to be doing a lot of climbing, so we're just going to fast forward a little bit because, as I say, we've got to climb in this. Now, the reason we have to climb is because we need to get to at least 10,000 feet to be effective. One of the issues with the fritz-x's is the fact that, well, you need it to be effective. Now, we've got a TBF coming, BTD coming in with 2 torpedoes on board. Looks like his engines actually died from the flak fire from the enemy ships already. So, got a problem. But this guy could possibly get 2 torpedoes off into that battleship. If he can do that, that could be very useful. So we'll have a little bit of a watch on from here for a moment, because, well, up in the sky we're not really doing too much. Now this guy is struggling quite a bit, obviously. We're still up here, by the way, just to let you know. We're way up in the stratosphere up there, a long time before we get on bomb target. This guy is on target to drop 2 torpedoes, though. 1 torpedo, 2 torpedo, and they look like they're going to hit. 2 torpedoes hit to the Russian dreadnought. 2 torpedoes that really haven't done much to said Russian dreadnought. Now let's jump up to me. Now I'm using a fritz-x. Fritz-x, of course, was the famous radio-guided bomb by the Germans. Now, bomb is out. We're going to control it down. Now, we can watch it from this point of view, or we could watch it from, hopefully, watch it from this point of view. The bomb is coming down. Where does the bomb land? We'll soon find out. Directly on the front turret. The bomb has taken out this guy's front turret. fritz-x has taken out the front turret of the dreadnought. That's what we got from that. And that's all it did. Was very, very, very minor damage to this dreadnought. As you can see, it was a direct hit on the front turret there, which really hasn't affected this ship much. So, 2 American torpedoes into the side, and a bomb that really, really, really should do a lot more than just gently, you know, nudge a turret when it lands on it. Now, just a reminder with the fritz-x. The fritz-x was designed to penetrate battleships. So, sole purpose in life was to penetrate a battleship's armour. Now, the bomb itself has 125mm of penetration in its base. However, when it's dropped from an altitude of about 10,000 feet higher, it gains a lot more penetration because it has the altitude to actually gain speed, kind of like the Tall Boy. You know, it's almost like the earthquake bomb. So what it does is it penetrates the ship and then explodes. Not how it works in War Thunder, however, because it just explodes on top of the turret, does HE damage, and does nothing to the actual battleship. Which, other than killing a few of its crew, no doubt, was all we did to it. That is beyond a bloody joke. Now, we drop a second bomb and we absolutely fluff this one because we're a little bit off. But the thing is, when a fritz-x doesn't hit its target, it still causes a lot of damage. We can hear the bomb incoming. Slow the time down. See if we can spot it, actually. I think that's... Is that it? So much bloody fire in the air, anyway. So, if a fritz-x lands a couple of meters away from the ship, it still causes a lot of damage because you get a lot of concussive force from the actual explosion in the water. When you explode something in water, it creates a pressure wave, which effectively bollockses up a ship. Trying to see exactly where it is. It shouldn't say nothing, I'm hoping. Or I've just missed it, one or the other. But yeah, I think we just missed it. Oh no, it's still not there. Sorry, I'm playing around with the actual speed a little bit. But essentially what happens is the pressure wave will damage the ship's internals, it will damage the ship's ammunition stowage, it will damage the ship's hull. It can cause a lot of damage. Even a non... There we go. So that was a hit directly to the front. That was pretty much spot on the actual bow of the ship as well, which has no armour, mind you. And again, look at the amazing damage that the German bomb has done to this dreadnought. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Naval is absolutely bollocksed. It's beyond broken, unfortunately, and when you put a weapon such as this with no countermeasure, despite the fact we have countermeasures in a game, what do you think happens? Why do you think people leave said game? Why do you feel people stop playing said game? Why do you feel people go, this is bollocks, and give up? Especially when there is such a high grind amount to get there. It's beyond a joke. The fact that we didn't even cripple a turret with a fritz-x is just... It's special, Gaijin, it's special. Anyway, I'm going to head to the end screen results here, which I filmed before this rant anyway, so I'll cover some of the same things, but you really get an idea of where I'm coming from, I hope. And yeah, Gaijin, we really need to start looking at changing. I mean, hell, look, the gunner on top, the anti-aircraft gunner on top of that turret is still alive. Russian sailors, the toughest sailors you can get. Alright guys, let's head to the post-battle screen results. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you really have to expect in top tier naval at the moment. You get yourself a relatively good cruiser. The Admiral Hipper class is a very good cruiser. 203mm guns on it, very fast firing, very good armour on board, very decent ship. But you don't have tool sets and you don't have fire prevention equipment. I know I go over this a lot, but without those two items, you can't repair the ship. Now, we also got a direct hit with a fritz-x through the turret of a dreadnought. That should be a kill. I'm sorry, game, but that... No. The dreadnought would not survive that. Now, there are cases of fritz-x hits. The most plausible thing in that respect is it overpenetrated. I'm doing a post-recording. I'm actually going to watch the replay next. And I'm going to see where that fritz-x ends up. Because if it actually ends up inside of the ship, then that ship is no more. If it overpenetrated and was under the ship, then that could allow it to not detonate. But a direct hit to a turret should really, really do more than just, you know, nothing at all. Now, this is the reward we got for that match. So, a fairly long match, almost 20 minutes, where we sailed along in the Admiral Hipper, trying to avoid shots being taken. We lost, of course, because the enemy team had a dreadnought and we didn't, which is, again, what you can expect from top tier. You can see there the dreadnought's amount of damage to ships is ridiculous compared to the rest of us. And this is the kind of BS that you have to expect. So all of you grinding out Naval at the moment, going, oh, I can't wait to get a dreadnought. Look at how much RP I got in that match. Now, I've played about 4 or 5 matches in my Hipper. Sorry, not my Hipper, at this tier, generally using the Graf Spee. And you can see I've not really made much progress on the SMS Westerfen. Not made much progress on the Nassau class dreadnought. And yeah, you can see what the grind's like. 320,000 RP, when if you're on a team without a dreadnought, you're not going to be earning that, and that's with a premium account. So, just quickly, we're going to go back to the hangar, and we will jump over to the USSR and jump to the Imperiats Miria, which, as you will have seen in Napalm Rats video. Napalm Rat is it's the dreadnought to have just for the alpha damage it does, really. So we hit here with our fritz-x. Now, top armor 125mm, deck armor 37mm. So we will have gotten into the actual we would have very much gotten into the turret. So if we say shoot a shell into there, we would have gone through the turret. Now, going through that section, there's a lot of ammunition stored in those areas. The ammo storage is relatively, well, it's relatively sort of chunky. You know, it's got a relative amount of, a relative amount of ammunition that will explode in those circumstances. As I said, the thing I'm suspecting is the fritz-x is just over-penetrating it. When fritz-x hit the Queen Elizabeth class, the brain, why aren't you clicking into gear right now? Queen Elizabeth class, Warspite, HMS Warspite. It hit it directly behind the, just directly behind the superstructure. So if we say this is the Warspite, it hit it directly behind the superstructure and hit it in the engine area. Went through all of the decks and then detonated right in the bottom in the engine area. And it almost split the ship in half. Now, luckily, Warspite was basically built out of spite and would not die to anything. So it didn't kill the Warspite. But the thing is with a dreadnought of this era is, yes, they have relatively thin deck armor, they got more protection to the side, but if we go in and we actually explode anywhere in this section, then it's going to really, really wreck the heck out of it, because the actual turret itself, once you get through that armor, you've got the shell lift, you've got the shells in there. Now, it might have been that I didn't have the detonation fuse set long enough, only setting it to 0. So it just detonated as soon as it made an impact. So again, maybe having that extra couple of seconds will have made the difference. But I'm going to go back and look at that, and then we'll be able to tell. But still, you know, the fact that these can take a direct hit from a bomb that has... What's the explosive mass on the fritz-x? Because I can't remember off the top of my head. 320 kilograms of explosive mass on board. You know, it's 1,500 kilogram. What is that? 1,500 kilogram bomb. You know, 1,500 kilogram bomb. Most of that is armor, but it will penetrate. You know, it's going to penetrate that armor, and it's going to absolute... Sorry, excuse me, I've got hiccups now from grumpiness. It's going to penetrate that armor because of the drop altitude. You also have to remember that it builds up speed as it goes through. That's why I climbed, because you need to be at a certain altitude to get the fritz-x working. But it would go through the armor of the turret without too much issue. If it's gone through the turret armor, that's it. That turret is going to go boom and go off the ship. And yeah, it's a huge problem. And as you saw, the ship just kept going, and that's the problem. You know, the other thing about these dreadnoughts is they have coal bunkers. And coal bunkers are just basically additional armor. It's just spaced armor. So even if you can penetrate the side armor of them, you're not going to penetrate into anything that's worthwhile. You just have to take out the turrets, which again are very beefy because they're bloody dreadnought class. It's completely unbalanced the game, and as I said, it just makes no sense because you've effectively got ships that can't fight other ships. It's the constant Gaijin issue of adding in a weapon before you have a counter weapon. You know, it would be like, well, we've seen it, but it basically is like, you know, having ATGMs against World War II era tanks. It's just not going to work, and then it makes it impossible to grind, and it makes it horrific to grind, and you lose all the fun from the game. Anyway, I'm going to end moaning there, because I hope you get the idea about this, and I hope you actually understand where I'm coming from, because, as I said, grinding a fresh ship is hell, especially at top tier now, because you get wiped out in one salvo, and any damage that you get taken, as you saw, I lost a couple of turrets. I can't repair those turrets. With my Graf Spee, of course, I can repair it because I have repair kits and fire prevention equipment, you know, so I can actually put the fires out and repair my guns. But my Admiral Hipper can't do that, which means you're kind of stuck. And again, you're just a floating hulk that can't do anything to actually turn the tide of a battle, and it's just unfortunate that that's the case. And I mean, even when I do unlock tool sets and fire prevention, I'm going to need to actually unlock the armor-piercing shells to have a chance against things like dreadnoughts. And, you know, that's 9,000 RP, 8,000 RP, 9,000 RP, so almost 30,000 RP to get to a point where you can actually somewhat have a chance against fighting back against a dreadnought class ship. That is not how you make a game work, Gaijin. That's not how you make a game playable, and that's not how you retain a player base. Alright guys, I hope you've understood the cause of my vitriol for this video, and look, let me know your experiences. As I say, low tier I think is quite fun. Going around in the smaller patrol boats and also smaller sort of First World War era, early 1930s, 1940s destroyers can be quite enjoyable. But then when you start facing things like cruisers, you have the same issue, because your destroyer can't effectively take out a cruiser. And then you also have the issue of the fact that you can't get near to a cruiser because they have stupendous amount of anti-aircraft defense. At least dreadnoughts can be taken out by planes, but as we've seen, even a decent hit with a bomb designed to take out planes can't appear to do it. So what the hell, Gaijin? This problem of, as I said, FPE and parts, that needs to be a base thing for naval, at least. For tanks, whatever, but for naval it needs to be a item that you get, because otherwise it is impossible to play the game. Alright, I've been Screezilla, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.